Yes. Yes, of course, now that the humans have synthesized the proper nanocrystalline proteins and fibers, they'll start making the spider clothing. And once they have spider clothing stronger than any known natural fabric, they will play right into our hands and providing us with the materials necessary for the spider invasion. What? You think I wouldn't be able to tell that there's a camera on me, I'm in space, and I have 8 eyes, 6 of which you can't see? What's that? I'm streaming live on YouTube right now? But I'll bring you home a gift before we copulate and then you kill me back.
Ignore that phone call. Welcome to Office Hours. Ugh. Hello, and welcome to Office Hours, a live component of the facility where good old Professor Kyle does some sort of digital transition and welcomes all of you outside of the facility, all my lovely staff, security team, professors, and all you members of the general public who tend to ignore laser turrets. Welcome, and allow you for the next hour or so to come in and ask good old Professor Kyle here any old question you want about science, pop culture, hair care, and other assorted tips and tricks, and I will do my very best during this next hour or so to educate and entertain. As I'm doing that, of course, we'll be going through a number of topics this week, as I want to do. We'll be talking about how scientists have approached creating some kind of spider silk that is indeed worthy of Spiderman, or I'm being told it's pronounced Spider-Man. We'll also be talking about your comments and questions and corrections from the latest episode of the facility, of which there are many. And while we are doing that, of course, I'll be taking your comments and questions from the chat live here on YouTube. If you really, symmetry. If you really want me to see something, you can try your hand at Super Chat on YouTube. I can't promise that I will get to every single one of these, as there's a lot of you in here, but I'll do my very best to get to you, as you are all simping for the facility to provide us funds, not only to make you what I would consider some of the highest quality educational content on the web, but also replicas of the One Ring that I can destroy. Elizabeth Calvert with the 50 says, "Hey, Kyle, my tiny human Alex's question of the week is associated with our dinner. How was rice invented?" Rice wasn't actually invented, Alex. Wild rice was wild. It evolved on this planet just like other plants, but like other plants, it was domesticated by humans, by which I mean it was taken under the human wing, and it was grown intentionally. It was bred with other kinds of rice and other kinds of plants until we got it to the exact place where we wanted it, and it was so successful delivering nutrients to people, it spread all over the world. And now today, after the so-called Green Revolution, we can genetically modify rice to give people the nutrients they might not otherwise get. Beta carotene is an important nutrient, Alex, and it's now genetically modified to be produced in certain kinds of rice, like golden rice, and that helps prevent blindness throughout third world countries and stuff like that. So rice is an amazing crop. Oh, what a crop! Cheech Ola with the Australian 3099 says, "G'day, Kyle. How do hallucinations work? If our eyes are just light receptors, how do our brains sometimes make our eyes see an image of something that isn't there? Cheers, you legend." My favorite Australian comedian today that I've been listening to consistently is Tim Cardy. Cheech, if you haven't heard of Tim Cardy, look him up. What'd he say? He said, if you call someone a legend, it's basically calling them out like, I'm about to stab you. G'day, sports fan. How do hallucinations work? I have no idea. I think that's an open question, much like deja vu or something like that is an open question. But consider this, something kind of spooky. The only difference between a dream and what you consider to be reality is what your brain does to reality test. So if I reach up for this cup that says world's greatest me on it, because I am, when I reach for this cup, I expect it to be of a certain texture. I expect it to be there. I expect it to not be a hologram. I expect to reach out and it doesn't suddenly change size. It's reality testing. If suddenly I reach out for the cup and it was different and my hand passed right through it, my brain would update the model of the world, like, oh, maybe not all cups are like this, or maybe something else is going on. In a dream, you don't have reality testing like that. You could reach out for a cup, and it was one size, and then suddenly it's a very, very tiny cup. You'd be like, I guess that makes sense. I'm having one of those tiny cup dreams. But both rely on your brain's model of the world, which is being constantly updated, and your brain's predictions about the world. What I'm getting to is, your perception of reality is a constant hallucination by your brain. The only thing pinning it down to Earth is sensory input. But so often that goes wrong, or you get some kind of crossed wires or whatever, and there's no difference. Reality is a slightly more realistic hallucination by your brain. Alyssa Rhonda is here with the 50. Hello, Alyssa. Grin Reaper of Trolls with the $9.99. And let's pause the super chats for a second so we can get to our first topic, all about Spider-Man. Grin Reaper of Trolls, frequent supporter of the facility. $9.99. Been a while since I've seen a live stream. Good to have you back, Grin. I started doing Taekwondo again recently. Gonna test for my next level of black belt soon. I also took Taekwondo when I was a kid. I reached Deputy Black Belt, which is black and red, and it looks awesome. Rent-a-Cow says, time for another bong rip. Just in time to talk about Spider Silk. Caliburn 91 with a 10 says, what's your hair care routine? I've been growing mine out ever since, but I've never had long hair before. Guys, dudes, I'm going to talk to the fellas for a little bit, okay? You don't want to look like you're still in a high school band and you've never washed your hair before, all right? If you want to take your hair care up to the next level, you got to take hair seriously. And you know who takes their hair seriously? Ladies. You know what I'm talking about, ladies. You have had to live, most of you, have had to live with long hair for most of your lives. You've learned all these little tips and tricks and techniques and products that actually work. Pay attention to the other half of the population when you are taking care of your hair. The things that I've learned about having nice hair come directly from, like, going to a salon for the first time because I have very long hair that I want to be nice. And the woman at the salon who I go to every single time saying, oh, you don't blow dry your hair? You should do that. Or you should use argan oil. Or have you tried sea salt spray? Or you should do this, that, or the other thing. Have you tried toner? All that stuff. Do it. I know it doesn't seem manly all the time. But you get to define what manly is for you. And what manly is for me. Oops. So, manly. Spider-Man. So I say that recently, scientists have come up with an synthetic spider silk that rivals what Spider-Man can do. And in this way, scientists are now kind of like Peter Parker, trying to come up with something like spider silk that is effective in the ways that spider silk are effective. And before we get started, spider silk is one of the most, if not the most amazing, naturally generated material that I can think of. It's stronger than steel by weight, and we'll get into what those actual engineering terms mean, because strong doesn't mean the same as tough, doesn't mean the same as elastic. All those things mean different things, engineering-wise. Trust me, I would agree. But it's the toughest natural material. It's one of the strongest natural materials. Spiders have been known to produce 8 different kinds of silk. They can because it's energy intensive, they can eat their own webs afterwards to get some of that material back into their bodies. It's recyclable. Some silks have been known to have neurotoxin lining it. The globs of sticky goo that are on spider webs act as non-Newtonian fluids. If a fly hits it really hard, it bounces like rubber, but if it hits it softly, it sticks like it's silly putty, acting in these two different ways. And in response to shear stress, you could have dragline silk, you can have catch silk, you can have safety silk, where spiders put a safety net line from their butts onto something so that they get knocked off by the wind or something. It catches them like a bungee cord, and other things act like steel wire. It is an amazing material. Spiders are amazing. One of the most amazing creatures on Gaia's green earth. So, spider silk is amazing, and it's no wonder then why someone like Spider-Man, being told again it's Spider-Man, why someone like Spider-Man would want to replicate something like spider silk. It is an amazing, it's an amazing material. And to his credit, or to Marvel's credit, or the writers of Spider-Man, to their credit, when you look at what Peter Parker was trying to come up with in terms of web fluid, Doug P says Spider-Men. No, you're also forgetting the hyphen. When Peter Parker was trying to come up with the web fluid, whoever wrote this Marvel comic, or the most recent iteration of this story, or what they're going to put in the movies, they did a little bit of their homework. Let's move right past that. So, I mean, you look at Peter's notebook and see, oh, should my web fluid be actual silk? No, silk is not sticky, and it's not malleable enough for my applications. It has to be load-bearing and strong, with extreme amounts of tension and stress, yet have little stretch to it. Spider silk actually has a tremendous amount of stretch to it. Natural spider silk has 1.75 gigapascals. Synthesized spider silk, 0.875. Not strong enough. So right now, in a Marvel movie and comic, you're seeing literally what we're talking about. Science Kid is like, right now, synthesized spider silk is not as strong as natural spider silk. And now this is a good point to mention what strength means. You've probably heard that natural spider silk is stronger than steel. What does strength mean? Okay. So when you see 1.75 GPA, that doesn't mean Peter Parker here is a bad student. That means gigapascals. And 1 pascal is a unit of force. Unit of pressure, rather. I was thinking of force. Because the pascal is a Newton per square meter. So a force over an area is a pressure. So natural spider silk can endure 1.75 billion newtons of force per square meter of the stuff. And when you say square meter, that's two-dimensional, right? It's not talking about the spider silk in this way. It's talking about if you were to take a thing of spider silk and cut it like this, so you could see a cross-section of it. So per square meter of cross-section, if you were to try to pull it apart, what are you actually pulling on? Well, you're pulling on this infinitesimal cross-section at every place along the line, right? So that means that if this was a square meter, which of course it's not, a square meter is huge, but it would take 1 billion newtons of force to pull it apart, which means that this is what the strength of spider silk means. The higher that number, the more force it takes to pull this part apart. And when you're talking about tensile strength, that also includes a failure component to it. So you're not just talking about, it's a different thing to say how much does it stretch or how much energy it can take. Strength means, ultimate tensile strength is how much force can you put on a cross-section of it before it fails. Okay? So strength relates to failure. Toughness is something totally different. Toughness is how much energy a material can absorb before failing per volume. So, for example, two materials could have two different toughnesses. For example, some kind of glass could be pretty strong in cross-section like this, as we're doing it, as strong as steel or another metal, but glass is not tough. You know glass is not tough. It cannot take very much energy at all before it snaps. A metal, on the other hand, is very tough. It can absorb a lot of energy as like you bent a steel beam or something like that. It's not failing. It's just bending. It is absorbing that energy. So, strength, how much force per cross-section until failure. Toughness, how much energy it can absorb before failure. Okay? Elasticity is a different thing. How much force does it take to change something's length versus its original length? So if I can stretch it 10% past it was originally, or 50%, that thing is more elastic. And engineering-wise, something that's elastic can return to its original shape after an application of force. So a rubber band is a good example of that. I pull on a rubber band so it doesn't break. When I let it go, returns to the exact same shape. It's very elastic. But if I was to pull metal apart and let it go, it would stay drawn out, right? Because metal is not very elastic. Or the elastic region, as you would say in engineering, of metal is small. Rent-a-cow says, is that elasticity versus ductility? Yes. Well, something that is ductile can be elastic, but not necessarily. See, this is the issue. When we talk about materials engineering is complicated. I took some classes. It's complicated. All these things mean different things. Ductility, malleability, strength, toughness, all that stuff means something different. But let's get back to spider silk. So what are you actually trying to replicate to get this ultimate tensile strength of spider silk? What are spiders doing? Well, if you were to look at a line of spider silk, it would look something like this if you went to increasingly smaller scales. You can see it at the micrometer, the nanometer, and then an order of magnitude smaller on the nanometer scale. So you have a tube of spider silk there. Inside of this tube, you would find these lasagna-like stacks of proteins linked together by other proteins that are stretchy. And if you look closer at these lasagna proteins, they look like they're layered in such a way that it's hard to pull them past each other. See how they've got that triangular shape? You can imagine when two things are shaped like that, this is easy to move past, and this is not. So spider silk is like this metamaterial where there's it's not just a uniform goo. Inside of this goo is some actual structure. And it's the structure that makes spider silk amazing. It is elastic and stretchy, yes, but is also strong because of these chains that don't want to be pulled apart. Okay? So what did the new study do? Well, the new study was trying to replicate what the spider does by using what they're calling amyloid peptides, or the spider uses amyloid peptides, rather, and it's inside of the spider silk. They spin it from their spinnerets, comes out of their butt. It's not just a tube. There are many tiny tubes that form a larger tube. And they spin it, and they make these nanocrystalline-like structures, these proteins, nanocrystals that we were mentioning. And when you do that, you get that stress versus strain curve that I mentioned in passing over there on camera right. Stress, again, tensile strength, megapascals, not gigapascals, over strain. So you can see how much stress is being applied versus how much the thing is stretching out. And the slope of that can give you an idea of how tough the thing is, how strong the thing is, rather. And you see 0.98 gigapascals. So that's almost 1. So, I forget what's here. What is this? So, the scientists made SPC Martin 420 says, has anyone made a Kyle Gone Hill pun yet? Yes, I know I'm kind of Jedi-y today. I felt like being comfortable. and cool. So what these scientists did was try to replicate these little lasagna parts with nanocrystals that the spiders have been doing for millions and millions of years. They've evolved this, but we have to try to biomimic it synthetically. So by altering the number of nanocrystals that they were putting into their own slurry, a protein slurry that is called dope, because it is, they're altering the constituents of their dope and spinning it out and getting fibers that look like this. And what they got, quoting from the study here, fibers made of a protein polymer consisting of 128 repeats of the sequence I can read, you can't prove that I can't, displayed an average ultimate tensile strength of 0.98 plus or minus 0.08 GPa and an average toughness, remember how much energy something can absorb before it fails, of 161 megajoules per cubic meter, surpassing most recombinant protein fibers and even some natural spider silk fibers. The design strategy and the biosynthetic approach can be expanded to create numerous functional materials, and the macroscopic amyloid fibers will enable a wide range of mechanically demanding applications. I didn't even plan this. This just works out. Having very light, very strong, very tough fibers like this, as the study was alluding to there, is very beneficial. You may have heard of something like Kevlar, and Kevlar is more or less the same thing. It's a fiber you can make clothing, like bulletproof vests, out of, that has a crazy high ultimate tensile strength. And why does that help prevent bullets? Well, if you had these fibers, like this, had fibers in something like Kevlar, and a bullet comes in and presses, what is it actually doing? What force is the bullet putting on, say, just a single fiber? The fibers aren't this big, of course. They're microscopic. But when the bullet presses on a fiber, like in Kevlar, it is, in effect, pulling, trying to increase the length of one of these fibers, which means that it is directly, whether or not this fails, is directly related to the ultimate tensile strength of those fibers. So the higher the ultimate tensile strength of those fibers, the stronger it's going to be, the less likely it's going to pierce a bulletproof vest and kill you. Now, it can still stretch those fibers enough for it to basically punch you with a bullet, and that would hurt, and you get terrible bruising, it can crack ribs, it can still kill you. But it's strong enough that it prevents puncture most of the time by something like a bullet. So in this way, by looking into the nanoscale structure of spider silk, by trying to actually replicate how the proteins are aligned next to each other in these 128 repeating little lasagna chains and stuff, scientists have indeed made a spider silk worthy of Peter Parker. Why did I say it like that? Who can say? We have Nerdy Loki with the Australian $20. Says, YouTube crashed and swallowed my question. Have an Australian $20 anyway. Thank you. I appreciate that. That turned into British. Ugh. No good. Iyas El Amrani says, it's nanotech. You like it? Yeah? That sounded threatening to me. Why? James Francis with a 5 says, so when are we going to be able to buy facility-branded kimonos? How did you know I was wearing a kimono? Yeah. I got this from a website that sells straight out of Japan because I saw a guy in a tattoo shop, or parlor, whatever you call it, who looked so comfortable, oversized, modern-style Japanese clothing. He looked so comfortable and so awesome, so I bought all of it. But I'm not an Asian man, and they size for people in Japan, this Japanese company, so I have to buy triple XL clothing from, I'm not big, but I had to buy triple XL, but I feel great. Peanuts Peanuts enlargement pills. Funny. $4.99. Just here to simp again. Hello. Well, hello, Peanuts. Kristen Wegner. The Canadian 1669. Nice. The second rail line the Kevins were constructing. Well, they've gone rogue. There's a hidden lab, and they are creating, the Basilisk. It's 98% complete. I mean, thanks for telling me, but now I have to do a whole thing.
Yes. Yes, it's me again. No, I'm actually calling from Earth this time. No, last time I was in a spider spaceship. Yes, the second rail line that we're constructing. Yes. The eggs. Oh, it's a myth. Spiders don't go in people's mouths. Wait, how can you understand me? Are your fingers connected? You don't have to. Bye.
Jeez. You ever try dealing with a spider like that? Very complicated creatures. Andrew Garland says, "What's a white hole?" I'm not really sure. Nobody's really sure. They're theorized opposites of a black hole, where instead of sucking in everything, they spit out everything, perhaps into a different universe. But we've never discovered one. Brianna says, "Wearing headphones with this voice filter is making me..." Is that face queasy, or... Is that a queasy face? Cuisinart? I don't know. Jordan Casanova says, "Was that the camera open? Don't look at my phone. Unless you have my face, you can't unlock it. And you can't just rip off someone's face that looks like my face and open my phone. I've tried that." CW Builds with the 20 says, There's some self-doubt when you're 28 and on the spectrum. I saw your Autism is My Superpower video. It helped me to believe I was accepted into the Fulton School of Engineering. Thank you. Expect my application to the facility in a few years. CW, I'm honored and humbled to be a part of your journey. Congratulations for being accepted into an engineering school at Fulton. You don't have to wait a few years to join the facility. You can join the facility right now, buddy. I'm proud of you. I mean that. Dabinori says, "Hey, Mr. Kyle, how comparable is this synthetic spider silk to carbon nanotubes? And just how much easier is it harder to make? I'm new here." Carbon nanotubes are... Nothing compares to carbon nanotubes in terms of tensile strength. They're way beyond natural spider silk. Way beyond steel, way beyond the synthetic stuff. It's, let's look it up. Because I don't know it off the top of my head. It's, yeah. So if the ultimate tensile strength of what we just went through was about 1 gigapascal, the mechanical properties of carbon nanotubes estimates the ultimate tensile strength of various kinds of carbon nanotubes at 10 to 63 gigapascal. So it's between 10 and 60 times stronger. So nothing really compares to it. Elliot says 10,000 GPA. No, that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing 10. But Benjamin says, "Many science here. I'm much confused." Well, that's too bad. Katie Trinity Blade says, "Here's a tenner for being awesome, you legend." Otaku Punk says, "Synthesizing for science." I'll allow it. Melatonin says, "Kyle looks like David Cho." You could not be more incorrect. Yes, Elliot, if you said 10,000 megapascals, then yes, you were correct. Ethan Maverick says, bioweapon and disaster video. So, and Visa likes my strong clothes. Ethan Maverick, bioweapon disaster video? No, not in the works. I'm not opposed to it. But The next episode at the facility will be this month's. I'm trying to do them once a month. It will be this month's Half-Life history about the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant disaster. It's going to be a long one, probably over 20 minutes. It was a 5,000-word essay that I had researched and written a couple weeks ago, and we got some special voiceover work for it, and video. It's going to be... I haven't seen the cut yet, but I think it's something that I'm going to be proud of, and I hope you enjoy it. Gideon Machiavelli. Now that's an evil person's name. With a $10, hello from Alaska. Oh. Are you familiar with the Thought Emporium here on YouTube? He has an entire series where he genetically engineers yeast to produce spider silk. Really? He does it himself? I'd have to check that out, because that does sound pretty cool. Doing it yourself is pretty cool. The D-Bonds. Ayo, my kimono king. I rock the same one on breezy days. Much love from a synthetic engineer. Love the show, mate. Well, thank you. So many smart people joining us here. I love that. Anthony with the 5. Matt Creel with the 5. So how long before we're able to create web shooters and swing around New York saving people? The problem with Spider-Man-like web slinging isn't the strength of spider silk. I calculated when I was at Because Science... you could have a spider silk strand that was like pencil width or a cross-section of a pencil or a pen, and it could easily support human body weight and swinging around and that kind of thing. No problem there. What's a problem is storing enough in a small area and shooting it out like 100 feet at like 50 miles an hour or whatever it is. That all could be done in theory, I'm sure. Alan Pan would probably correct me on that, but to have that all miniaturized down to no bigger than the size of a wristwatch, that's what is really not possible. 141 Maddie said, could Spidey lift Thor's hammer with his webs? If the hammer is intelligent in that it knows who's trying to pick it up, and it's not just nanotechnology or whatever it is, if it's some kind of Asgardian mysticness, then it would know it's trying to be lifted by someone. Otherwise, you could just like put a book underneath it and lift the book. Like, I'm not trying to lift a hammer. But if it knew, no. I don't know. Lowly Sacker with a 20. Thanks for the science and hair care tips, baby. They didn't say baby, I said baby. Argan Oil has stepped up my hair game, and now I have a few more answers for my nephew's never-ending questions. Who? Thanks. Argan Oil is good. Right after you do a light blow dry and then air dry, right in between full hair dryness, get a little dollop, a little dime-sized dollop. Whew. Erica Schmidt, the 20. Hello, Erica. It's not a disaster, but are you thinking about a Half-Life history around the Oklo natural nuclear pile in Gabon? It'd be a good start, at least. I don't know if there's enough for a full episode. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head. I do have a whole catalog of other little mini documentary ideas that I might pull the trigger on or not. I want to do at least one about the big 3 nuclear disasters. So I've done Chernobyl. Fukushima is coming out. I should do something on the 3 Mile Island, and that could be something I'm looking into. And also, I mean, I might end up really kind of staking my claim as kind of the nuclear, like the Chernobyl science guy, because we're going there in a couple months. Couple of weeks, I will be traveling to Ukraine and spending a full week inside of the exclusion zone and filming everything. I don't know how many videos I'm going to get out of it. I would go even if I wasn't filming. But hopefully what we generate out of that trip will be pretty singular. Wine and Rue with the ZAR 35. I don't know what it is. Sounds cool. Sage Spiritos with a 10. If we have the ability to purify water, why don't we have offshore rigs to purify seawater into fresh water suitable for drinking for cities that desperately need it? We do. There are desalination plants off the coast of Africa. I forget where they are specifically. But there are desalination plants. The problem is that it's very energy intensive right now. And that energy comes from somewhere, usually fossil fuels and stuff like that. So it's hard to pay for the amount of energy that you need to desalinate. a lot of water for a lot of people. It's more of a engineering problem at the moment. It's not a physics-based problem. It's not a chemistry problem. We can do it. It's just hard to do. QC, one of my distinguished Professor Emeritus. Science Nerd appears. Happy Tuesday. Have you received your all-powerful tools of world domination? I mean the delivery? QC, I will be checking my P.O. box, the facility's P.O. box, which is available through my website, kylehill.net, if you want to check it out. If you want to send me stuff, don't send me weird stuff, but you can send me stuff. I haven't checked it yet, QC. It's on my calendar to check tomorrow. So whatever that is, if you want me to show it off on stream, or for our Patreon professor-only live stream coming up this weekend, we can do that as well. Thank you, as always, for your support. Wing Zero with the 10 says, how do you decide what is a reputable source? You are mine when it comes to science, because I did my research on topics in your vids, but should I trust you forever? No. Or is this an endless cycle of second guessing? Science, I mean, that's not a bad way to describe science as a whole. Is science an endless cycle of second guessing? Well, yes, kind of. But the cool thing about science is that you establish some theory or fact or phenomenon or process with enough evidence to such a point where enough people can agree that, yeah, you did that right, that makes sense, those numbers check out. You do that for long enough to a point where you can say, no, we don't have to second guess that thing anymore. We know that the 1,000th time I throw a rock to the ground, gravity is not going to reverse. Gravity is there. It's a thing. We're not going to second guess gravity anymore. It would be foolish and time-consuming to do so. But how do you decide what is a reputable source? Well, don't always take my word for things. I do the research. I do my own research to a point where I feel comfortable telling potentially millions of people what I think is true. So starting with me isn't the worst thing in the world, but if you want to be really secure in your knowledge, reputable sources, well, first of all, go to the source. And there's been a video on my list that I've wanted to do for a long time. I don't think it will do well, which is why I haven't done it. But let me know if y'all would like for me to do a full video, like a facility video on how to read a scientific paper. Like, you don't have to know the science in it, but what do you look for? What's good? What's bad? What's the takeaways? I could do a whole video just on that. Again, I don't think it would do well, which is why... Well, why don't you just do it? Because it takes like a full week of my time and then a full week of editing time, and we're paying for all of that. And, I mean, hair and makeup and all that. That's not true. I do all my hair and makeup. But, okay, a lot of people saying yes. Okay, that would be extremely useful. All right, okay. Maybe I don't have an idea for this week. Maybe I'll do that for the next script. Because at least what I do, because I've studied or have had science classes and stuff like that, what I do is, for example, if we're talking about this new silk study, I click on the news article, but then I always, before I even read the news article, I click on the study source and I look at the study or the abstract or whatever I can find, and I read that first. Because the people writing the news stories are doing the same thing. They're reading it and trying to translate it. So let me read it first to see if they're doing a good job or not, based on how I know how to look at scientific studies. So if everyone, yeah, it looks like everybody likes that. So we'll try that. I can't I just don't know if it'll do well. It's hard to spend a whole week of work time doing something that you're not 100% confident in, you know. This is a business. And even though the Spanish press likes to call me a YouTuber with YouTuber in quotes, I consider myself a business. So it's hard to, you know. We have many employees here at the facility. Inazuma Fool with the 20 says, "Hey Kyle, love the show. I wanted to thank you for kickstarting my obsession with outer space. I bought a refractor telescope and finally saw the moon's craters, and the tears of joy are immense. Thank you. The lunar Maria are something to be admired." Amazing. Thank you so much. Vanessa with the 5 says, I love your channel and think you belong with other science educators like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan. That is way too high praise. Not yet. Not yet. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want to get on their level or I didn't want to influence people at the same scale. I do. It's what my life's work is pointed towards. It's what I would like to do. Have that kind of impact. But just on a scale of any kind of metric you want to measure it by, we're not close. But that's very, very kind of you to say. Thank you. Jimmy Melberg just simping with the SEK 100. Let's move on to something else that you said about me to me. Or a lot of people are angry about Lord of the Rings. Peer review. So as we're wont to do on every episode of Office Hours, we look at the last episode at the facility, inside of the facility's walls, and we take your comments, questions, and corrections. I look at something that made me go, what? And I make you an honorary member of the facility, and then you get a plaque from Kevin. And actually, now, before I forget, because I'm going to forget. So on the last episode of the facility, we had our second video from the Syracuse Lava Lab. Peter Shanuda with the 10. Please make the research paper video. Here's $10. So the second video at the lava facility, and I threw a replica of the One Ring into this here lava that you see. Actual, honest to science lava. And no joke, in that video, I did spend like 20 minutes cracking open lava that was too hot to touch, desperately trying to find any remnants of this ring. And, spoiler alert, I did find that ring, and I concluded that depending on what the ring was made out of, it might not actually melt because of the geophysics of lava. And you can watch that video if you want to know more about what I said. I have to be careful with this because it's literally like atoms thick on the edges, and it can slice me open like nobody's business. But here is that piece of lava. Whew. Obsidian. And I took it. They allowed me to take it. I asked. Put it in a special baggie, and I took it back with me. And so here's the lava, and if you look closely, it's not going to focus here, but there it is. There is the One Ring encased forever in obsidian lava, or cooled lava, rather. And something that you may not have noticed in the video itself, and what I was trying to get at, was lava doesn't always flow in the way that you think. It's not a homogeneous, super hot thing. There are layers, and sometimes those layers insulate each other, and it's not all melty. Look how this lava flowed. As it cooled, it picked up some of the sand it was flowing over, and it made these tubes, these hollow tubes. It's not a single thick thing of lava like you might think. It is cooling, forming bubbles, forming little chambers. It's not thick all the way through. So when you get down into it, it's not that hard to imagine how a ring could be insulated in one of these areas if it didn't immediately vaporize or something like that. So here is the actual piece. It's very cool. This will be the coolest paperweight I own next to my uranium. Very cool. But what did you have to say about... I really don't want to slice my hands, but what did you have to say about it? David Misaglia, David, says, bummer, you should have left the ring in the lava laboratory. Well, too bad I took it. Imagine, well, I do agree with the second part. Imagine, in 2 years, an intern is cleaning and breaking up the chunks to reuse them, and in the midst of it, they find a strange golden ring with elvish inscription. That would be amazing, except they'd probably never ever find it, because a lot of the pieces that they use in the pores, they break them up, they clean them off, they recycle them, then put them back in the crucible. So Sir Butterballs, gross, has a complaint in the chat, and it's one of the complaints that many people watching the video had, and we will look at one of those. Rad Giraffe Most likely, the One Ring was actually made of pure gold or iron protected by magic, so it would likely melt in the lavas of Mount Doom where magic doesn't protect it. It's difficult to test magic. And I got... A, I wanted something I could get quickly that would function sufficiently. B, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for a solid gold ring and inscribe it. Because the differential success of the video, I don't think it would make it worthy. And even if I made it solid gold or what have you, people still wouldn't be happy. And that's why I'm giving it to Devin Fow, or Fox, Foe. Big difference between this and what we saw in the film, Kyle, you dummy. This was a fairly small flow that cooled quickly, as Sir Butterbald says. Oh, people want to... These aren't... it's difficult to test magic. These aren't Jedi clothes. These are cool guy Kyle clothes. Do the experiment again with the ring. It's not... Based on how poorly the last couple videos on the channel have done, it's not honestly worth my time. I would, but flying to New York and buying stuff and filming stuff and paying for hotels and all that stuff, not always worth it. Or it has to be worth it for me to do it. What the heck am I saying? Okay, yes. This was a fairly small flow that cooled quickly, whereas in the film, the ring was chucked directly into a large magma chamber, which was being kept hot. I would hazard a guess the surrounding lava would keep that insulating layer from solidifying, giving the One Ring time enough to heat up and melt. Now, I think that is actually a good criticism. My counterpoint to that would be that if the ring was made out of anything with a higher melting point than the lava, because the lava is of a known temperature, and we don't know what the ring is made of. We don't know what a more realistic Sauron ring would be made of. You can make the case for anything, in my view. Then you're talking about a heat transfer problem, and in my view, if it's of whatever I say it is of, heat transfer happens really quickly in metals. And you know this if you put your hand on a, heat up a pan and then put your hand on the pan after turning the burners on for 3 seconds. It gets hot very quick. Heat moves quickly through metal because of its crystalline, semi-crystalline structure. What I mean here, Devin, is that the amount of time the ring was in many thousands of degrees lava, which in the video it looks like it's a few seconds. It wasn't. It was minutes. Because we cut stuff down. There was 2 lava pores poured on top of the ring in sequence. What I'm saying is that if it's not going to melt with many thousands of degrees in minutes, then it doesn't make a difference to be inside of a volcano for more minutes. I'm saying it's going to do what it's going to do in a few seconds. And if it doesn't do that, it's not going to do it. Okay? But Devin, many of you, and the Spanish press, I guess, had a big problem with how I did things. That's totally fine. You don't always have to take my word for it. Is that LeVar Burton's? Oh, Chris Heichel says, can you pretty please do a Hank Hill impersonation? God damn it, Bobby. The best thing for this is more WD-40. Propane. No, not good. Although my Gollum is screen accurate. So, Devin, thank you for trying to keep me honest. I'm gonna take this paperweight with me. I'm gonna cherish it forever. And now you are an honorary member of the facility. I hope she likes it.
Oh, it's wriggling and fresh. The ring is bubble.
Tom Green says, what's the deal with the Spanish press you keep mentioning? Did I miss that lore? They tweeted about, some Spanish outlet tweeted about the video, and all the reactions to the video are negative, and they called me a YouTuber in quotes. I don't care, but that's what I'm talking about. It's in a book. Kenny Smith says, you do a much better Gollum voice than Hank Hill. I know. See, the thing about Gollum is that it's a very specific throat closing off thing that you do, and I've always been able to do it as a kid. It's what you do to sound like a munchkin or whatever. And then you just throw some gravelly Britishness on top of that.
And then you have something that's a lot closer to Oh, Master doesn't. Master protects us. No, that's false.
Ugh. And that closing off of your throat thing is the same way, for example, that like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Dana, forget his last name, does like, no, not Dana. Aqua Teen Hunger Force does Meat Wad. It's the same exact thing. You just do the throat close off thing, and you throw some Southern on it.
I was like, you know I don't want to go in there. I just want to play down here with my puppets. I just play with my puppets. I don't care what you guys talking about. It's crazy.
Compression of the soft palate. Is that what it's called? Okay. Joseph DeArgy says, I just joined. What is happening? I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I'm trying to answer some science questions, but now we're doing voices. What a life. Only a couple more minutes. Ants66F says, ooh, that could be Dobby. Hot take, Dobby sucks. Gordorokos, with the 5, says, wouldn't the fires of Mount Doom have to at least make it soft and malleable, considering it was forged in the fires of Mount Doom? Yeah, but was Celebrimbor using, like, magically hot fire? Let me put it this way. You see him forging him above the lava, like inside of the volcano, but above the lava. Above lava is still incredibly hot. It should be hot enough to ignite him, Celebrimbor. So, if it's not, there's some magic involved. You can't, it's hard to test magic. Aaron says, you do an excellent meat wad.
What's that here?
Jason Palovich says, I've heard that impersonating Smeagol too often could lead to hair loss. Oh, no. Okay, I'll stop. Chris Heichel says, hello from Jupiter's moon, Ganymede. Well, when my message gets to you in a couple of minutes or hours or however long it takes, hello. Christopher Rees says, I worked at a cinema when the first Hobbit film came out and had to do an announcement for why the film was delayed. I did it in my screen-accurate Gollum voice and got a round of applause, baby. Mohammed Noman says, hey Kyle, could I get a shout out from the UK in a Brummy accent from Peaky Blinders? I don't know what Brummy means. Is Brummy whatever I did? Oh. The Hexbugs423 says, Fun fact, in the Star Wars No Hope, the physical actor in the costume, instead of the voice, is Southern. And if you look closely, what might pass as reflection is you can see the face. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Brian Murray says, question from the Vodlands. What are your thoughts on Loki? I haven't watched it. Don't post any spoilers. I haven't... Well, don't post any spoilers for other people. I don't care. I'm probably not going to watch it. But don't be that person. Spencer McLand said, Kyle, can we get a 12-hour stream? No. No. No way. I got stuff to do. Maybe I'll make that... I'll start writing that how to interpret a scientific paper video for y'all. Some Ray Hash 8 Hash says, Kyle, you make this hour seem so short. Oh, baby. Celestial Scat says, can you say I like candy like Meatwad, please?
Celestial Scat, you know I like candy.
Juan XM with the R's 100. Is that Argentinian? Don't know. My first super chat ever for my favorite science YouTuber, Juan. Gracias. Ozzy Osbourne is a Brummie. That's a Brummie accent. Okay. Sharon. Okay, that's fine. No, let's not go down that road. Don't make fun of that. His brain is certainly fried. Speaking of longer streams, if you want to watch me do some longer stuff, you can go to my Twitch channel, which we just launched because we want to do more video gaming style stuff because I play a lot of video games. So why not turn every one of my hobbies into content? But we did a 3-hour stream of me playing Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, for the first time, and it was a lot of fun. I'm better at it than you think I am. And we might be doing that again soon. Maybe we'll have another Sekiro Sunday. Maybe. That game's really, really cool. A lot of fun. Which is to say that we'll be doing longer streams on Twitch of me with sciencey input on fun video games. And cut downs of that, we'll be making it to the facility channel here proper. But also, Twitch chatting with all of you is very fun. Especially when we can talk over a longer period of time. And we have that all set up with your emotes, you get custom gifts whenever you follow. There's chat window. And unlike other streamers that you may watch, Twitch streamers, we don't have a bedroom in the background. We're coming to you straight from a command center, a revolutionary gaming facility. We don't have a cooler full of Red Bulls that's in neon colors next to us. Yeti Man says, what's this about silk spiders? You're going to have to watch the VOD after we're done. Daniel Galvaro Lopez seems, what is your Twitch channel? If the mods could put that in there. Quick. Thank you. Oh, there it is. So let's take one or two more questions. This is a good one to end on. N. Marden says, hey Kyle, my spawn, don't call your children that. My child is asking why black holes suck things up. Well, spawn of N. Marden. Harden. Spawn of Marden. That sounds like a Lord of the Rings thing too, huh? And lo,
the Dark Lord summoned the spawn of Marden to strike down the Grey Wizard.
Why do black holes suck things up? Black holes are not like objects. They're not like a big ball of nothing. They're more like holes in space-time. And when you have a hole, a two-dimensional hole, it's flat, stuff goes in it. But a three-dimensional hole, a hole in all directions, Imagine the imaginary surface this is encapsulating here. Keep it in front of your face. It's a sphere. And so a black hole is a hole in all directions. Ooh. But there's so much mass inside of this hole of all directions. There's so much mass that it does something weird to space-time. Space and time as a continuum. And the mass creates a curvature. So the common, though not totally accurate, I'm trying to look at something I could. The common but not totally accurate picture is mass creates a depression in space-time. It bends it, it curves it. Okay? Now, if that's the case, things moving within that space-time would want to follow those curves. So around a planet, planet's large, has a gravitational influence, the mass creates these curves in space-time. So things want to, instead of going right at it, they kind of want to go around it and curve around it. Orbit, if you do it the right way. A black hole's depression isn't like a simple curve. It's not just like a gentle, oh, I guess I'm moving. It's more like this. It's such a intense curve, it's basically straight down. So when you're near a black hole, you cross this area called the event horizon. It's not like that. It's kind of, there's a gradient. But you cross this area called the event horizon, the distance at which you would have to travel faster than the speed of light to escape this curvature, this gravity well. Trying to think of like a skateboarder trying to get out of a half pipe. At some point, the half pipe becomes so steep that no matter how fast Tony Hawk was getting, they're never going to get out of that half pipe. So, in the edge of a black hole's event horizon, that half pipe gets so steep and so intense that you'd have to be traveling on a light speed skateboard to escape. And nothing with mass can travel at the speed of light. And so everything with mass, the right trajectory, falls into a black hole's gravitational well. Now, not everything will fall into a black hole. You can get close to a black hole, and you can orbit a black hole. It just depends on how close you're getting to the event horizon, whether you're crossing it, and what your trajectory is like. There are stable orbits around black holes. It's just like a point mass like the sun is. But if you're not going fast enough or you're going in the wrong direction, then you'll be sucked down into the black hole's event horizon. An image of your final moments will be pasted on the outside of the event horizon, fade forever. Time will stop. You'll fall down into the singularity where physics breaks down, and you will most certainly die. And you don't want that to happen to you, spawn of Martin. So I hope you learned something today. I hope all of you learned something today. Thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Office Hours. Wow, we talked a lot. Madcap Magician says, why does Kyle look like a Jedi? I'm not a Jedi. Just a cool guy. We talked about how to make spider silk worthy of Spiderman. What? Being told it's Spider-Man. We also took one of your comments, questions, and corrections about my Lord of the Rings episode. Mostly negative reaction to that. We also took all of your lovely comments and super chats. Thank you so much to everyone who was simping for science, supporting the work that we're doing here at the facility, engaging with me, calling me a Sith. It's fine. I can cultivate that kind of aesthetic. I'm comfortable with it. I will see you this week at the facility for the next Half-Life History episode about the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant disaster. I think it's going to be something special. I hope you like it. I think I'm most proud of that series out of anything I've ever done. So look for that. And maybe on Twitch as well this week if you want to see me play some video games like Sekiro. Next week, we'll be live streaming again. We'll be taking another comment, another question, another topic, something else that rhymes with question. And until then, as we know today, the Delta variant is surging, especially in the United States. Cases are going back up. Even if you're vaccinated, wear masks inside. I don't care. Tell them Kyle told you to do it. Put your mask on. Just wear it like you used to wear it. We're not out of the woods yet. Wear it. Get vaccinated at your earliest opportunity. Let's kick the Delta variant's evolving ass out of here. Let's get back to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel before people kick us back into the darkness. Be safe, be smart out there, because the virus doesn't care. And when you're out there in cyberspace, be nice to each other. Because this is all we got. Bye-bye.